What's going on, everybody? Tonight we have a big one, so we're going to get right into it. Tonight we are going to cover the PC checklist. PC is short for Pilot in Command. So we're going to talk about the process to become a pilot in command tonight, and the Pilot in Command checklist that you will eventually get at your unit that will be required for you to complete before you become a pilot in command. So let's get right into it. So what is a pilot in command? Well, have you guys ever flown on an airplane, like an airliner going to another city? The captain is an example of the pilot in command. And then the first officer is an example of just the pilot. Obviously, he is there to assist the pilot in command and fly the aircraft and do everything a pilot is expected to do. But the pilot in command is the person ultimately responsible for everything that happens on that aircraft, and they are the ultimate authority on board that aircraft. So the airlines, they call it, the captain, but in the military, it's going to be referred to as Pilot in Command, PC, or sometimes also referred to as PIC for short. Now, obviously, everybody's goal who is a pilot should be to make Pilot in Command one day, obviously. And you make Pilot in Command accomplishing several things, but every single unit has what's called a PC board. At this PC board, they review the pilots that are not yet pilot in commands. They're pilot in command candidates. They're just regular pilots at the unit. And they discuss these candidates. And if the candidate has fulfilled all of the required items and displays the qualities that is expected of a PC, they will be nominated. And we're going to discuss this whole process. So the PC board happens at the company level, and the frequency that it happens at is really unit dependent, but from what I see, they try to make it happen every single 90 days, typically, obviously plus or minus a few days. It may not happen exactly on 90 days, but I think they try to do it every 90 days, at least at my unit. Sometimes if the unit is very busy, they might not have a pilot in command board for until 180 days, for example. But most of the time they try to do it every 90 days. Now, there are many things that go into this PC board. So ultimately, the person that you are going to find putting this PC board together is going to be the company senior pilot, also known as the SP. He will take basically a PowerPoint slide deck and make every single pilot that's not a pilot in command basically a baseball card. And they'll put sometimes a picture of the pilot maybe, and a lot of just information about the pilot on this baseball card. This information is going to include the total flight hours of this pilot. They're going to include the total NG hours this pilot has, hood time, and then this pilot's position within the company. So for me, I am what's called an RLO. That's kind of a slang term that's really has become a formal term in the military. It stands for real life officer. But basically, if you hear the term RLO, they're referring to a commissioned officer. But getting back to the baseball card, so they'll put the position in the company. For me, it would be platoon leader. For somebody else, it might be section leader, or, for your regular warrant, just pilot. And then they'll list the additional duties that that person has. So this is really more important for the warrants out there. So if you've been through progression and everything, and you've taken on the duty of goggle custodian or commo rep, they will list that additional duty on your baseball cards. And that's really important because it shows that you're really stepping up in the company. You're not just going through the motions, really. You're taking an active role in just unit readiness. So that's important to list on that baseball card. So just to go over that one more time, it's normally, you're always going to see total flight time. That includes your flight school flight time as well, your NG hours, your hood time, and your duty within the company. And then the SP will put this slide deck together of every single PI. If you hear me use the term PI, I'm just referring to a basic pilot other than PC. They'll put these baseball cards together, and then that SP will send it out to all of the PCs in the company, or whoever's on that ATP. So even people outside of the company that fly under the company's ATP, they'll get it as well. And these PCs will go through, they will review these baseball cards of these PC candidates, and they will either vote yes or no on the slide, and then they'll put sustains, meaning like things that this pilot should make sure that they continue to do, or they'll put improves, like needs to improve on radio communication, needs to improve on oral knowledge, needs to improve on fill in the blank, VMC approach, whatever. They could put anything really. And then needs a better haircut. Literally, they could put anything. They will then email these. My computer's not wanting to cooperate with me tonight, sorry. They will then email these back to the SP. The SP will roll up all of these comments and the votes, and they'll put the number of yes the pilot got and the number of no's that the pilot got on the slide. So when the board happens, on the day that it happens, they will when the baseball card is displayed, they'll see that, oh, this pilot got 10 yeses and 5 no's, or you know, it could be anything, 15 no's and 0 yeses. But when they display that card, everybody can see what the PCs think of this individual. And obviously this slide deck is sent out ideally like a few days before the board, and then when the board convenes, all of that information is displayed in this brief. So on the day of the board, the SP will be there along with all of the PCs and the commander, and they will sit there and they will literally go slide by slide by slide, and they will review the slides and they'll discuss the PI. So for example, we'll take me for example. And this is an example, this isn't really what happened. I'm not even in the room because I'm a PI. I'm allowed to be in the room when they're doing warrants, but as soon as they start doing RLOs, I have to leave the room. So they will pull up my baseball card and they'll see, hey, Captain Rushing, he has X number of hours, he has X number of NG hours, X number of hood time. These are all of his duties that he does within the company, and he received 5 yeses and 10 nos, and we'll open the floor for everybody to comment. And they'll say, hey, let's go over the nos first. What does he need to improve on? And then each PC at that time can raise their hand and they'll say, well, I'd like to comment on him. He's pretty good at this, he's pretty good at that, but he needs improvement on this. And then they'll go through all the notes. They will record all of these notes because this is valuable information to send back to the PI after the board, so that PI can review what they need to improve on going forward. So, and then they'll give a turn for, hey, you know, whoever voted yes, why do you think he should be a PC? And they'll say, well, like, he did this very well. He's always prepared. He's always on top of his game. And they'll kind of talk you up. And then a lot of those guys that vote yes for you, if somebody voted no, you may have flown with a PC like 6 to 8 months ago, but that guy that voted you yes, he may have flew with you a week ago. So he has like more up-to-date information on you. So they'll take that into consideration too. So after that board convenes, it's up to the commander to go forward with nominating that individual for PC. So say, for example, somebody got all yeses. Obviously, the commander is going to be like, yeah, let's schedule a PC check ride for him and let's go forward with this. And it doesn't have to be 100% yeses. I've seen people make PC with almost all yeses and one no, and the commander still chose to nominate them for PC. But the commander is typically going to go with what the majority of the PCs think about the individual, because the PCs are kind of his eyes and ears. He can't really fly with everything or everyone in the company. The PCs are out there flying with these PIs every single day, so they have a better idea. He'll take all of that information and make his decision on who he's going to make a PC. So, moving on, went over that. So, this is a good thing to talk about. So, we've kind of just gone over the PC board, right? So, I mentioned checklists, PC checklist. So, when do you get this PC checklist? It varies from unit to unit. In my unit, and this is the only experience I have, when the day you become RL1, the SP will hand you the PC checklist. And I know some of you guys that are watching might be like, wow, like the minute you're RL1, you get a PC checklist. Now, you can take it as long as you want to finish this PC checklist. You could start the very next day. You can wait for a couple of months to a year. It doesn't really matter. You finish your PC checklist whenever you finish it. Some units do it differently. I've heard some units will not issue the PC checklist until the individual has been nominated for PC. And just going off of experience, I find that kind of hard just because I'm really not even halfway done with my PC checklist. I've made some decent progress, but I've been working on it for a while. So I do know it does take some time to complete. So I think the way my unit does it, obviously it's my only experience, I kind of like that, the way that they do it. I just think it would be really hard to get everything you need to get done after being nominated. So I kind of like how you can kind of work it at your own pace. But that's just kind of what you can expect. Some units do it the minute you make RL1, you get your PC checklist. Some, they wait a while. Now, I will say this, it did feel kind of strange making RL1, right out of progression and being handed a PC checklist. I'm like, bro, I'm barely a pilot at this point, right? I just made RL1. But when you kind of get into it, it kind of makes a little more sense. And the funny thing about this is I made RL1 and the very next week they had a PC board. And everybody who is RL1 within the unit that is not a PC gets thrown into this PC board. It doesn't matter if you've been RL1 for 24 hours or 24 months. You're going to get looked at in this PC board. So obviously it was very strange being in that PC board and only having been a full-fledged RL1 PI for a week. So it does feel kind of strange, but that's just the way they do things. So let's go over the typical flow for PC. So for PC, this is the flow. You get to your unit, right? You start progression. Progression takes a few months, very dependent on the situation. And then your RL1. You then get your PC checklist. You have to have an A part before you're even eligible to be considered for a PC. So even though your card gets looked at in the PC board, you have to have had an A part. That's just a part of the qualification, and obviously for good reason, right? Like, you shouldn't be making PC without even having an A part. And then your PC checklist, you're going to get that complete eventually, and then you will eventually be nominated for PC in the PC board. Once you get nominated for PC, you will then go on your PC check ride. This will be done with an IP. I've seen it done several ways. Sometimes the SP goes on the PC check ride right away with the individual. But a lot of times it will be an IP, and then once they get the endorsement from the regular IP, they then go do a check ride with the SP. Once the SP gives the thumbs up and says this guy's good to go, that means you've been nominated and you've passed your PC check ride. That's really the hard part. The next part is the interview with the battalion commander. This interview is pretty low threat. Typically, the battalion commander you're going to walk in, you're going to meet the battalion commander, and he's going to be like, oh yeah, you're really stepping into some new territory. You have a lot of responsibilities. Boy, I remember when I made PC, it was a whole nother game. So you're going to get one of those speeches from the battalion commander, but it's pretty low threat. He just kind of wants to sit down with the PCs and fill out the situation and just reiterate to that individual, hey, you have a big responsibility now. Anything goes wrong on your flight, you are the sole responsibility of that aircraft. And then once you've done that PC battalion commander interview, congratulations, you're a PC. Now, I mentioned the battalion commander interview because I do know it does hold some people up, just because it's kind of hard to get on the battalion commander's calendar just for like a 5-minute sit down. I was actually scheduled to fly with a PC. He was brand new, just got his PC check ride done, and we actually had to cancel the flight that we had that day because he hadn't had his interview with the battalion commander. So even though that it's just a 5-minute sit down and a handshake, it is definitely a piece that has to be done before you're considered a PC. So moving on. So I know you guys are going to want to hear the criteria for making PC. So typically nowadays, I know this has definitely changed, but between 350 hours to 450 hours, that's typically the window you're going to make PC in nowadays. I know there is an old timer, an old school pilot watching this video right now, and he's probably just cringing, going, they're making PC at that hour level? And that is kind of unusual because prior to the recent years, remember, we were going on deployment after deployment and real combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. So making PC before the 500-hour mark was kind of unheard of. But because we're not going on all these deployments anymore, typically 350 to 450 hours is typically the going rate nowadays. I know back in the heavy deployment era, guys were getting like 400 hours a year sometimes. So the hour level of making PC has kind of dropped a little bit. Whether that's for better or for worse, that's a discussion worth having, but the Army's kind of got to work with what they have, and typically they need you to step into that PC role in that window. Obviously, if you suck, it could be much later, and sometimes even it could be earlier. I've seen guys make a PC at 300 hours. They were very good pilots, but it does happen. But that's typically the window. Now, NG hours plays a good role in this, so typically PCs will not vote a yes on you unless you have over 80 NG hours, for good reason. I know this can hold some people up because some duty stations fly more NG than others. My duty station flies a pretty healthy amount of NG. I do know if you go to Alaska where you have a problem with day and night, typically your hours can be lacking in the NG department. So, but typically they like seeing 80 NG hours before you make PC. And then the last category that you hear all the time is judgment and maturity. And there's several ways PCs can evaluate this. So as you get closer to making PC and you start becoming more of a senior pilot, typically around 250 hours, the PCs that you fly with, they'll start doing what's called role reversal, where they're going to act as the PI and they're going to place you in the pilot command role. That doesn't mean you're the real pilot in command. They're just simulating that you're the real pilot in command. And they're going to kind of step back and evaluate you and let you run the show. When they do this, they'll kind of place you into some stressful situations just to see what kind of judgment calls that you make and if you can use the capabilities on the aircraft to help you make those decisions. So a scenario that I've been thrown a few times since I've medevac, you know, we've been out flying around and I've been in the PC role, acting as the PC, and my PI, or really PC, but acting as the PI, will say, hey, you just received a medevac. It's at this grid, so obviously you start writing all the information down, and he'll say, let me know if you can do that mission. So obviously you go into your FMS, you take your fuel that you have on board, you put in the grid, you get a point to that grid to get an idea how far away it is, how much fuel you need to get to that grid, and a lot of times it will be something that you can't do. But he really just wants to see if you can use the tools that you have available to you and think through the problem. Like, okay, if it's going to take me X amount of pounds to get there, but we only have X amount of pounds on board, I got to also think about flying to the hospital, sitting on the pad while I'm there. That could take another 10 minutes. And then I also have to fly back to refuel. So you may be able to do it. You may not be able to do it. But being a PC is all about being able to make that call and execute that mission and keep everybody safe. Obviously, you do not want to become the mission. So that's how they can kind of evaluate your maturity and your judgment. Another thing that PCs like to do when you become a senior PI is they'll say, okay, I'm a brand new PI, fresh out of progression, and I suck at doing this maneuver. Let's say it's roll-ons, for instance. Can you teach me how to do a roll-on? And not only do they want to see you demonstrate the roll-on well within the standard, but they also want to see, because you have to demo, if you're going to teach a roll-on, for instance, you have to be able to demonstrate it and be well within standards of doing it. And then they want to see how well you can kind of dumb things down to a newer person to aviation to be able to see if you can do that correctly, because the PCs are the primary trainers of the unit. They're going to spend the most times with the brand new PI. Obviously, the IPs take the PIs fresh out of flight school, but you are going to, as a PC, you are going to take that PI and develop them into a PC. So you're going to spend a lot of time with PIs as a PC, and they want to see if you can teach these maneuvers in a very good way. Another thing that they'll do is they'll say, hey, we have a flight tomorrow, I want you to teach me about a system. And if you're going to go home, you're going to study all about this system, you're going to throw together a PowerPoint slide, and you have to teach this to a PI, and you have to express more than surface level knowledge, because that PC is going to come prepared, and they're going to write down a whole bunch of questions to ask you and really dig into that system. And I say system, it could be anything. It could be aerodynamics, it could be airspace rules, it could be anything. But a good PC candidate will be able to teach it to a young PI, and they'll be able to answer the hard questions. So that's how they can evaluate your judgment and maturity. So once you make your hours, once you're obviously good on the controls, and your PC checklist is complete, and you have everything they're looking for, you will be nominated for PC. So since we're done with that, I want to show you guys my PC checklist and kind of give you an idea of what this PC checklist looks like. So this is what you will get once you complete RL progression, and it's a checklist. So there's 29 items on here, and as you can see, there is a spot where PCs can sign off on what you've done. So, and I'll show you how this works. So it doesn't just come with a checklist, it also comes with an explanation of what each item is and what you have to display to get a signature on those items. So you take this to a PC, and for example, we'll do VFR Cross Country. Say, hey, today I want to get my VFR Cross Country. Or it wouldn't be today. Obviously, you don't have time to prepare the day of a flight. But you got a flight scheduled later on this week, and you want to get your VFR Cross Country signed off. So you flip to the page where it talks about VFR Cross Country to see what exactly you need to be able to display. So I'll read it to you. So VFR Cross Country flight must be done in modes either VFR or IFR, because there is a VFR Cross Country signature and an IFR Cross Country signature. The cross country flight will depart the local flying area and operate in controlled airspace. Ideally, the PC candidate operates in a more demanding airspace, such as Class Charlie or Class Bravo for both modes. So what that really means is you can't just pick VFR Cross Country and go to some, Class Echo airspace. That's really easy, right? They want to see that you can go into a really busy airport for this item and demonstrate that you can do it without violating airspace or getting overwhelmed. So for mine, I actually did mine into a Class Bravo. We were leaving NTC, and we flew into Las Vegas, Class Bravo. So they want to see that you can fly in that that blue circle thing over there and not violate airspace. So as you can see, they're more challenging than just a regular cross country. So we'll go to another one. So this one is aircraft pre-flight, post-flight, and logbook procedures. So we'll flip to that and see what we got to do to get that signed off. Let's see. Okay, aircraft pre-flight, post-flight logbook procedures. So this is the logbook. So if you're in either primary or aircraft qualification, the logbook is that black laptop that you always see your IP walking around with and typing things up on. So perform and describe the procedures for reviewing the aircraft logbook before a flight and ensure the -13 and -18 faults, inspections, and requirements are met or not exceeded as applicable. Conduct pre-flight, post-flight, and mooring operations. Ensure an understanding of PMD operations and that all rated crew members and non-rated crew member tasks are accomplished per the operator's manual and PMD manual. This must be evaluated by a MTP, maintenance test pilot. So For that one's not even really a flight. You can do that on a flight, but for mine, what I did to get signed off for that is I went and found one of my 15 tangos that I respect within my platoon that I know is on top of things, more senior 15 tango aircraft mechanic. And I'm like, hey, I'm kind of familiar on the logbook, but can you walk me through the dash 13s, dash 18s, and the dash 12 and kind of give me a rundown on this? So obviously had my notebook out, took notes and everything, and then after we got done, or after he got done showing me, I did it all with him looking over my shoulders to make sure I'm doing everything right. And then obviously on every flight after that, the best thing to do is do that to get yourself more proficient at it. But after I felt comfortable with it, I went and found my MTP, and I was like, hey, I want to get this signed off on my PC checklist. Can I show you I know how to do this in the logbook? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I showed him everything, and then he would give me a scenario, and then I showed him that I could do it. So obviously that got me a signature. So my point in showing and talking about all of this is you have to kind of work for it. You're not doing things at a PI level when you get a signature on your PC checklist. You're showing that you can do it at a PC level. So that's the big thing. And obviously you have 29 items, at least for my unit. Might be more, might be less for your unit. But that is my video for the night. I hope you guys found it informative, and it kind of gives you a better idea of like what making PC looks like. I know I was wondering that in flight school. So that concludes it. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please give me a subscribe if you like my content. If you watch like more than one of my videos, it's probably a good indicator that you like my content. So give me that subscribe, give me that like, and I really appreciate everybody's support. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.